rockers and Mercuryans, these O's ain't loyal. They ain't loyal, which is why I've chosen to live my life in a celibate solo format. The celibate solo format. I am done. I'm over it. Y'all can have your relationships. You can have all that lovey-dovey, all that stuff to yourselves. Um, I'm good. I'm not hating on love. I'm not hating on it. But I do want to discuss in this video why I've decided that solo dolo is the way for me. I'm over it. So in this video, I want to kind of go through a few of my relationships that I have been in that have brought me to this point where I've decided to permanently go forward alone in this life. Even though we all die alone anyway, so it's not that big of a deal to be honest. But I know a lot of people's life, like myself in the past, was revolving around relationships and the idea of building a family with somebody and that Disney's fairy tale love and all that kind of situation. So I wanted to kind of get into that. So first, I'm just gonna tap on a few different parts of my life into how I got here. And again, before I even begin this video again, I just want to make sure y'all know if you do have love in your life, be there for that person, be loyal, nourish it, be thankful, be gratitude. I don't believe that love doesn't exist. I just believe it ain't for me. I choose to live a life as some artists have in the past, where they decided to, give everything, pour their passion, pour their life force into their creativity. For me, that's music. For me, that's my community, my streaming community. It's creating of all types. Like I just love creating. I love painting. Even I love art. And so that's where I want to funnel my energy in personally. But I do understand some people who, may not be in that realm. So I just want to give that disclaimer ahead of time. I'm not saying like, what, Rock Mercury. I want you to go talk to your man to watch this video, then go tell your man, Rock Mercury said I should leave you, that you ain't ish and that you ain't loyal. That's not what I said. I said for my situations, my exes weren't ish and my exes ain't loyal, and so I am done and over it all. So let's go ahead and tap into different segments of how I came to this point. All right, but first let me check my video. I get a little paranoid sometimes I think I'm talking and then the video ain't really going, so let me just double check real quick. Let me just double check. Okay, we're good, we're still going. All right. So first thing first, let's just start off as a young kid. I'm not going to go into too much detail into every single part. I want to first talk about me growing up and what I saw as examples of relationships. From my parents and family, all that kind of stuff. I want to talk about that. Then I want to tap into this the top 5 relationships I've been in, the top 5 ones that I took seriously, that we were more official. I want to tap into those as well and just kind of discuss how those all led me to where I'm at now, and then talk about the beauty of where I'm at now, because it's not a sad thing. It's not like a heartbroken and I'm just so devastated and destroyed by heartbreak that I don't want nobody. Like, it's not that. It's not giving that. It's giving more of just a realization of what's important to me and which is where I'm at, and how I'm going to pour even more life into my future from where I'm at, with the acceptance of what what I desire going forward. So, all right. So first off, growing up, I grew up in a household that, with my mom mainly. My dad was around, but not around day to day. I'll just leave it at that. But love my dad. Shout out to him. We talk often. So it's not like I can't stand my daddy kind of thing. But it was that. I ain't gonna lie. It was that because there was some miscommunication that I had growing up. But now we are good, and I'm so grateful for my dad and very, very thankful for my mother. She is my rock. And so Rock Mercury. Anyway, sorry. But anyway, like it was definitely not a love story. It was definitely not a love story growing up with my mom and dad. Like they had already dissolved the relationship when I was very, very young. And so they were living separate lives. But I knew my mom like wanted to have a love life, and so she had dated a few times and stuff, and those situations seemed nice at first. They didn't really work out in the bigger picture. I witnessed some of the heartbreak she experienced in that, without going into too much detail with that, because that's her own story to tell. But to watch that and to watch her mother go through devastating situations of heartbreak and not having it go the way she would like, which is interesting because nowadays, currently, she's in a good relationship now. She's pretty happy in the situation she's in now, so it didn't end off in sadness, but it's just like growing up, I remember her being vulnerable and being there for people and just being done dirty. I feel like people just did her dirty, and she's really a sweet, wonderful person overall. And it's just like I really felt for her when she was dealing with those heartbreak situations. So starting off at that was already a tough call for me, and I was already a very loner kind of kid growing up because I didn't really F with a lot of people. A lot of people bullied me for multiple different reasons. That can be a whole different video about being bullied. Not that I give an F anymore, so I don't know if I'll do a video on that, but maybe I will. If you want that video, put in the comment section below what it's like to be bullied since a kid. Um, and so growing up, I was just kind of was like, oh, that's, I felt the desire that she wanted for relationships, and I kind of mimicked that in a way of like, oh, that'd be nice to have a partner, like the idea of having that partner and that love. And we've all seen the Disney movies and the TV shows and movies of like, oh, I love you, oh, you love me, oh, I love you too, oh, baby, all that BS that we see on the movies, and we don't really see the end result in a lot of the shows. Some shows we do nowadays, they be showing the heartbreak a little too much. So, but back then it was kind of, not the most realistic viewpoint of how love is. Depending on what you watch, because like I said, there's some even movies back then that were more accurate onto the nuances of love. But from what I experienced and watched, I feel like I kind of had a distorted view of what a relationship could be. And so from there, I didn't date. I didn't even date in elementary and middle school and high school. I didn't date at all anyone until I was an adult, until I was in my 20s. That's when I first started dating. I think I was like 22 or 23 or something like that. That's how long. I'd like not even like, oh, we're going steady, you and that boy. Like I remember this one girl asked me to be her like, what is it, prom? Go to prom with her. And I was like, the F, nah, I just decided not to go to prom at all. I'm like, I don't even know you like that. Like, that's, you really tripping. So she told me, I was like, you going to prom with me? I'm like, the F? So I was like, I'm good on this whole prom thing. It's already awkward enough. I'm good on that, no shade to her. But, yeah, so I was just not in that space. Also, I was closeted at that time. I was very much, thinking I was going the route of, the rainbow world, rainbow community, being identifying as part of the rainbow community, which I do not identify as anymore currently. But at that time, I did feel like I was closeted, but part of that community. And so I just look back at that time, and I just there wasn't any vulnerability or openness for me to even have a relationship. Like I wasn't even true to myself. How could I even date somebody at that time? And so I waited till I went through high school, graduated, moved out to Los Angeles, and that's when I had my first relationship. Um, and so we'll just skip into that now because there's other parts in between. Of course, there's so many parts to that kind of situation. But I will say, once I got to Los Angeles, that's also when I became more promiscuous, as you would say, because I was depressed and I was closeted. And so in that space, and me thinking that I'm part of the Rainbow LG, whatever, Rainbow Soup community, that I wanted to, sow my seeds recklessly, I guess. And I feel like I was on those apps because that's the beginning of when all the different types of apps came out. One of them talked about the grind, the good old grind app, and the ga.com, all these types of sites that were out there. And that's how I even met anybody who I was interested in. You meet them through these apps because it's like you don't know who is in your community from just looking at them from around, and it's kind of nerve wracking to assume that and to confront somebody in that and think you're gonna have a relationship with them. And so I definitely met everybody through those apps at that time, and I was out there doing things I should not have been doing. Looking back, not judging myself, but just more of like, dang, I should have had more value for myself. But it's hard to have value if you're closeted, you don't even like who you are, and you kind of wanted to shift who you are at that point. So with that being said, I was just in that space of just meeting people, having these one night stand kind of situations, which is very much how the rainbow world kind of goes. It's that's why one of the very toxic things about that community is the idea that you gotta like just go out and do whatever, and very Sodom and Gomorrah. This out, let's go do this, let's do that, and like oh, pop it open here, bust it wide open there, do all that kind of stuff, and exploring yourself that way with people who don't care about you. Like I think that's a big part too. Like I was with people around people who didn't really give a F. People ghost you all the time. I've ghosted people too, so I'm not even, it's just what it is. It's part of the culture. You're just kind of like in a situation where everybody's trying to be touched and feel loved and not feel loved, but just feel like seen for that moment. And you consider it, oh, you want to have fun? Let's have fun. Let's have fun. You want to have fun? And looking back at that idea of let's have fun, let's hook up, let's have fun, that it really feels like very misleading because it's not fun to have these experiences that are meaningless. It just feels like you're just pouring yourself out um into an empty void. There's nothing came about those relationships, to be honest. If you had to pay me right now, I could not. If you put a gun to my head right now and told me tell me how many people you've been with in your life, I couldn't give it to you. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I do not know. That's And a lot of people in the rainbow community, they may not know either. Yes, some of them may be like, I know I have a little black book, and at one point I did have a book where I had a list where I was listing people out on, and then that list got too long, and I said, you know what, I don't even like this list. This list is judgment. Let me delete this whole list. And I deleted it, and it's really gone. I'm like, oh my god, I wish I kind of had that, just to have a view of a ballpark figure, but it's up there. I want to say it's in the three digits. There's some people who are in the four digits and or less. I don't know. It depends on the person. But when you have at your availability online, the ability to just connect with somebody and do what it do for that night and keep it moving, and nobody trying to lock anybody down, especially when you're two men. Nobody trying to lock anybody down. I think that's the biggest part right there. Is that like there is not a committal situation from the start. It's already starting off as a let's have fun. Let's have this little moment, little dip and do it, which I strongly advise against. If you're a younger person, or especially if you're a virgin, oh my gosh, like I would hold dear to that, hold dear to it, value yourself, find somebody who's worthy to connect with your spirits and your body with. Like it's don't just throw yourself around. Like I feel like if I was straight, I would have hoped that I would have been more marriage minded at that point, and more thinking of like the long term person instead of just the short term getting your rocks off kind of thing. Um, so that's the first part. I just wish that I had made a different decision when it came to like who I was laying with, to be honest, or even if it was for a couple of hours, or not. Honestly, not even that. A lot of times it was less than an hour. Like let's be really real. So anyway, with all that to be said, so I just from that time until this last relationship I had, there was definitely in between each relationship there was definitely promiscuous eras of me dipping and doing it. So I'm not gonna mention those people because I don't remember them. If we effed out there, I probably don't remember you, but I know that they were all of age. So don't you over there try to play me. I know that they were all consensual because I would never. That's not hot to me. I don't like that. Like, oh, you don't want this? Like, no, that's effed up. That's really disturbing to me, and I stand for victims when it comes to those situations. So I know that everything was legally okay and accurate, but I don't know who they were a lot of times because it was like you made on an app and you just confirm that their age and that I mean, because a lot of them are older than me. Honestly, most of them were older than me because that's what I liked more of. Maybe it was a daddy complex. I don't know. Who knows what it was? But most of them were older than me. And so that was one thing I didn't have to worry about that a lot of times. And so, well, yeah, oh God, like really most of them. I'm trying to think like probably 90% of them are older than me, or anyway, that's a whole, like, I mean, not go into that because like I said, I don't remember a lot of those encounters because they were so short and so brief. Some as brief as walking in and within 30 minutes you already got your rocks off twice. That's really it's disturbing, but that's really what happens in the culture. That's why I'm like, y'all better be keeping yourself checked and healthy, and I'll stay protected. I was very much about protection. I didn't even get sick or anything until I got married, and we'll get into that once we get to that relationship. But I was not in that space of getting of recklessness until I got married, and that's so gross. Anyway, so first thing first, I met one person off of this app called Tinder. His name was Sasha. He was Russian. And we met off Tinder, and we are supposed to like meet up and have a date. We met up at my house. That was like this is my first relationship I ever had. And it was like this person was like a model, like they were like a Gucci model, a former Gucci model. So they were like on billboards, or whatever. And I was like, oh my god, this so handsome. Oh gosh, whoa. All right, well anyway, so handsome and all that kind of stuff. I thought we were just kind of like meet and talk for the first time, and because I don't know, something felt different about this person on Tinder. Tinder was supposed to be like the more nicer app that's like more for like more seriousness somehow, which is not that. It's definitely a hookup app at this point too. But we met up. Um, Things definitely went way faster. We ended up hooking up that same day, that same night, and um, ooh, that same night we hooked up. He like he took me out to dinner the next day, or like to a lunch. It was like a lunch the next day. Wanted to take things seriously from that quickly. I'm like, oh wow, this is how it happened. This is amazing. Like I'm with somebody who wants to be with me and who's like enamored with me and listen to my eyes. They're like, oh, I love you already. Like saying I love you the first day. And I'm like, okay, that's sweet. All right, this must be a sweet thing. I wasn't needing anybody because like I said, you have the app, you can immediately get somebody else the next day. So I said, oh, this is different. This person really likes me. That's really dope. um Fast, he ends up telling me that day that he's like, oh, I just want to tell you, I don't want you to be mad at me, but I'm positive but undetectable. Some of y'all know what that means. Some of y'all know what that means. He got the HIV, positive but undetectable. And I'm like, this is my first time, and I was terrified. I'm like, oh my god, are you serious? You didn't even tell me anything? Like that's so weird that he didn't tell me, but he was so effing hot that I'm like, okay. I looked up what undetectable meant, and it meant basically that you're not able to transmit that, whatever. And I did not catch it. I never, to this day, I don't have that. So I never caught any of that part. I did catch something else later on. We'll talk about that once I get to the marriage part. But maybe we'll talk about it. But we'll see once I get there. But I didn't catch anything, so that's not where the story's going. But I should have known right there. That's a red flag that somebody's gonna lay down with you and not tell you that part, and honestly lie, because I remember asking about that before we even met up, and he said that he was fine and that everything that he was clear basically. And so that was really like a lie again. People be lying out here. They'd be lying. Anyway, so after that day, we're like after that lunch, we're like hanging out, and it's like we're hanging out every day at that point. And I think by like 3 days later, he's like literally asking me, like trying to engage me, trying to marry me, like asking me to marry him. And I'm like, oh whoa, like that's beautiful. You're super hot. This is a good look. Like why not? I was building feelings for this person too, so I thought it'd be a beautiful situation. Like okay, why not? Um, oh my god, this is such a long story. I'm like, how do I even go from this story? So anyway, we're like basically engaged at that point, and that's when things get more serious. He's staying over more at my house. He has his own place too in Santa Monica. He runs like a massage therapy business and all that BS, and so um, it was just very like it went very fast. And I'm like, oh, this is a good time to tell my mom. My mom, I wasn't even out yet to anybody, so I told my mom only. She's the only person that knew at that time. She was devastated because I went back to LA to Houston where I'm at now, and I met up with the family, and I took her out to the lake, and I told her, and she was hysterical and all this stuff, and it was like that all changed later on. Years later, she ended up like loving the show RuPaul Drag Race. So she went from being hysterical, and people grow, people change, whatever. It's not a big deal. I get where she was coming from. I think she thought that I was gonna marry this person and just exit the family, and I was already preparing myself to be ostracized because of my orientation. I was already preparing myself for that. I was already mentally shutting down and being able to handle it. And so seeing her hysterical just kind of confirmed for me that this part of my life was over, that my family was gonna, like not gonna be part of my future at that time. So I had to already mentally prepare that because of the whole closet situation. And so, but he was like calling me every day, like when I was out here, and I was like, oh, this person really loves me, like FaceTiming me and all this, like this constant, oh, I love you, baby, oh, baby, this, baby, that, blah, blah, blah. Turns out, cause I can't go into all this story because it would just take forever. But turns out this person was already married. Russian, first of all, he was from Russia. Russian, I think I said that already. Russian, already married to a woman for a green card. Didn't even realize that. I was like, oh my god, are you effing serious right now? He goes by Alexander, but his name is Sasha too. But it was like so crazy. And this woman didn't even know that he was married, that she was married to him for a green card. He made it seem, when he finally told me, he made it seem as if he was married for, that she knew that it was a green card marriage, which, I was like, that's illegal, but like also you're hot and I think you love me. So I'm like, wait, what's going on? And it didn't matter what I thought about it, because little did I know we were gonna end up breaking up within about a month or so. I think we broke up the relationship lasted about a month or 2 months, so fast. But then ended up staying in contact with me for years afterwards. Years, so crazy. Just these N words ain't ish. They ain't ish. Okay, so from there, I find that out. I'm just not feeling that. I'm like, this is effed up. Comes to find out that not only does he have a wife, but he has another guy on the side too that he's been seeing for a while. A guy that's older than me, another black dude that's older than me. That didn't even know that I existed on the situation, but like, yet you're engaging me. Like, he was the one that asked me that if I would marry him, because he loved me and all this BS and all this. So this is my first relationship ever. I'm like 22 years old, because it was 2022, 2023. So like I was about 22, 23 years old when this all happened, when that first relationship happened. I want to say 23, because it was in 2023, because one of my closest friends passed away in 2024, and so not 20. Oh my God, 2014. So 2013, 2014. I'm saying the wrong, but it's not 2023. 2013, 2014. Anyway, let me not go into dates. That's too confusing. But anyways, I was 23. Let's say that. And it was all new and everything. And I remember I booked this like big commercial as everything was coming out. I'm like, wait, this seems crazy. Like, we're supposed to be engaged. You're already married, and you got somebody else too, and you just got a new place that I'm at with you all the time. But you don't want me to be like PDA with you in public. Like, he didn't want me to hold his hand in public, but like in private, he's like super all handsy and always calling me and always like FaceTiming and all this. But I'm like, but in public, he wanted to make it seem as if we're just buddies or something. I'm like, what the F? What is this? But it's my first relationship, whatever. I didn't know. So I remember I had this commercial, and I was going to set for this big commercial, and he like said, oh, I want to talk to you first. Can you come over and I'll talk to you? And he's sitting in the car, and he breaks up with me in the car. Breaks up with me. And I'm like heart devastated. I'm like, are you serious? I thought we were gonna work these out. I was just so heartbroken about the situation. I was like just in shock. Like, what the F? And it broke my heart, because it's my first heartbreak ever. Really looking back, it was because I'd seen too much of the BS. I found him out. He already been found out. So I already knew all the BS he was doing. And if he really didn't F with me, then he wouldn't have stayed in contact with me for years. I'm talking about, wait, so 2013 all the way, like at least 8 years after he was still contact. If I didn't block him, he would still be calling me right now to this day, and we're already in 2024 right now. So like 10 years later, he would still be calling me right now if I didn't block him. And he ended up showing up in a story later on, after I'm married. I'm just gonna mention that now, because I'll probably forget by the time it gets to that, because the marriage part is a hot mess. But after my marriage, way forward, starts to go downhill really fast. um, he reaches out to me to take me out for a smoothie and to catch up. So we go out for smoothies in Santa Monica, and I'm just like, I was thinking, F him, like I don't want anything to do with him. But my ex-husband at the time was like, oh no, go meet with him, it's fine, go meet with him, like see what he wants, like see what's the situation, like don't have resentment, whatever, all that. So I go and meet with him. We have our smoothie. We talk. It seems like all innocent and fine. He asked me to go to the car with him, so that we could just to walk him to the car. He'll drive me to my car. That happens a lot in LA, because people will park farther than others. So he was gonna drive me from his car to drive me his car to my car. So I get in the car. I'm like, oh, nice new car. That's good for you. I'm keeping it like chill, like more. I'm married at this point, so I'm keeping it more chill. But my marriage was going so downhill. Like, there's so much infidelity, so much effed up stuff that happened in it. So it was whatever. This MFer makes out with me in the car. Like, he acts like he's going to reach for something in his glove department, and pulls me in and starts making out with me in the car. And at this point, I felt so unloved in my situation that part of me was just curious of what's going on. Like, I didn't like give into it that much, but I didn't like stop it. I was like, whatever. Like, my husband at the time was literally trash, like actual trash. So it was just like, whatever, who gets an F at this point? Like, all my life is effed up. Like, I'm depressed as F at this point. I had just started Rock Mercury at this point too, like around that time. And so I was just like, just everything's trash. Who cares? Um, and I was just so like shocked. Like, after all these years, like, you did me so dirty, had me so heartbroken, and now you over here wanting to like be with me again or something. Like, you're like, and the guy that he was still with that guy, and he was still married to that woman. Still married to all these years later, married to the woman. This is at least like 6 years later at this point. 6 or 7 years. Just a hot mess, hot drama, 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 drama. Oh, gross. So, anyways, my heart was broken at that point. I felt like a shell of a person going back to the first breakup, the real breakup of that first one. My heart was broken. I was just feeling like this is a trash situation. Like, why did I even trust this person? Like, it was just I felt disgusted, you know. Um, and I wanted him back at that point because I'm like, this is my first relationship. Like, how do I win this person back? Or like, and he would still contact me even at that time. So he would play with me. He would be like, I don't want you, but then also like always trying to meet up and always trying to like hang out. But it was toxic, very toxic, effed up. And I think I skipped over my first intimate relationship, my first intimate connection, before all the hookups and stuff, was with this Secret Service person, who was at the LAX airport, and we had met up through this website called gay.com. So hilarious. Like, what are the names? You know. Anyways, I get there. I didn't know he was Secret Service until I got there, and I was trying to figure out if I was top or bottom at that time. So we did both. If you know, you know. And it was just very like sterile situation, but he kind of fell for me at the time. But I was like very like, oh my gosh, like, let me step back from this, because I didn't even like, I just wanted it to be a one-time thing, just to see, like, to pop my cherry basically. Like, it was my first time ever. I was like, oh, let me just, okay, like, this is kind of weird. So I never saw him again after that day. Never ever saw him. He messaged me a few times, but I never like saw him again, and I just was like kind of ghosted him at that point, because it was interesting, you know. I was very like, it was too early. But I never like let him on ever. He just wanted to keep messaging, and because he was Secret Service, he was very animate, and I feel like he kind of like followed me a little bit because he had the ability of Secret Service. I don't know. That was a sketch. It's weird. I end up with a few other military people in my path. Well, I end up married a military person. That's a whole different thing. We'll talk about that when we get there. But anyway, so that relationship ended. I was heartbroken, devastated over that. That's when I first, like, my best friend kind of tried to help me out of my depression. Like, I was like over depression, like so heartbroken and done. I'd never had heartbreak before. I never dated anybody, so it was a very heavy heartbreak for me at that time. And so that's when I started getting into positive books. You know, like those, like Eckhart Tolle was the first book I read. Actually, he gave me that book when we broke up. He gave me this book called New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I was like, F this effort, you know, like, I couldn't stand it. I don't want to read that book. I was like, this book is trash. And it was like a PDF. But then my bestie knew I was so depressed, and I went to New York for the very first time, and I had nothing else to read because I was on a long flight and I wasn't sleeping because I was very depressed. And so I ended up reading that book, and it was part of what really shifted my mindset and changed my life in that time. I also went through this program called Landmark, which was super helpful too. My bestie got me into that program. It was nice. Like, I think it's kind of a little cultish in a way, so I didn't stay for the full cult part, but I felt very empowered by what I was a part of in the Landmark program. You know, I don't think it's a full cult, but it's just, there's certain things I'm like very MLS kind of multi-layer system to it. I'm like, I'm good on this part, but thank you for at least opening my eyes to other people's struggles and make me feel better about the bigger picture. You know, that's what I felt when it came to that particular program. So I went through that, and that kind of woke me up. It took me out of the victim mindset to, you know, me feeling like I had power and agency over my life. Um, so we went, so straight from there, I started just seeing things a little bit differently, feeling a little more powerfully. I went into yoga. My bestie got me some different um, gift cards to go to yoga, so I started going into yoga. Ended up taking a teacher training for yoga, becoming a certified 1,000-hour trainer in yoga, and ended up teaching and all that stuff. It was a whole thing. But while I was in that program for yoga, I started dating somebody else about a year later, I think, or maybe less than a year after that breakup. And it was a professor named Robertos. He was from Lithuania, so we got Russia. Lithuania is right next to Russia. He was a professor at USC, which is downtown LA. Very huge college. He was a professor of business analytics, and we met on, I think it was Tinder. It was Tinder again. We met on Tinder. Yep, because I remember both of them were on Tinder. Yeah, so we met on Tinder first. So he ended up was he was actually like he had actually like hung out or like not dated but like effed around with one of my closest friends at the time. That's a whole different thing. But that was interesting because I remember I was like he seemed familiar, but he had effed around with my former friend, but they weren't like dating or anything, and so I kind of forgot actually, but he just seemed familiar. So we meet and we become inseparable from that first moment. Like, he was much more analytical, and he had his like he lives in like the West Hollywood area. He had like this back house area, in a very nice neighborhood, and he loved my little dog. He actually ended up giving him my dog at a certain point after this relationship, way after. That's a whole different thing too, but we'll talk about that at a certain point. Um, because he was obsessed with my dog, my little Pomeranian that I've had since I was a kid. Not a kid, but like since I had since the base since the Pomeranian was a kid. I had the Pomeranian since I graduated high school, and so that's a whole thing right there. We'll talk about that or like dabble into it. That relationship was very controlling, like very bipolar, if I can say that. I was always with him. He was super jealous. It didn't start off that way. First, it started off as a sweet whatever, but he was like super jealous. Like always was yelling. Always have these mock breakups and try to like. I don't want, or forget you, and F you, that are like just literally over nothing. Like he would just be thinking I'm cheating on him all the time. Never cheated on him. I never cheated on any of my exes or like nobody. I just didn't cheat. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I hated the thought of being cheated on. They didn't cheat on me. I felt like the first one was kind of cheating, but he was already in his relationship, so he lied, but it wasn't cheating because he was already with those people. So I kind of woke up to that. But I don't know if I was being cheated on because I was with him so often that I don't think that he was like. Anyway, whatever. I didn't know I was cheated on at that point. I didn't consider what I'd been through cheated on. I just thought that he was married for a green card, and anyway, hot mess situation. But this situation, I was with them every day. Like I ended up like even leaving my house, even though I still had the house there, and just being with him like day in day out. Like we would go to even his school together, and I'll take my dog with me into the class. So crazy, a Pomeranian in a big old college campus like that. Um, we would go on walks each day. Like we would cook each day together. We would always sleep together in the same like in bed every single night. It was like we were always together, but he always didn't trust me. He never trusted me, and I was like always trying to prove it my trust because I'm like wait, but I didn't realize that he had been cheated on by his ex, and he was still probably heartbroken by his ex that he was with for years. But he's treating me bad. Like he was very like just like emotionally abusive, not physically abusive. That will come on later on. Not physically, but emotionally abusive, super like just manipulative and just like very weird with that and analytic with it too. And he always thought I was dumb, but I'm like, I always felt smarter than him, but I never like tried to put that on him. But I'm like, I know what's going on. Like I'm very clear on what's happening, so I never understood why he was trying to play in my face like that. I just didn't get it. And so I remember it was like on Christmas Day, this relationship had lasted a while. And I met all his friends and stuff. We went to his friends' houses, and like it was like we were together for like a year almost. Like it was a while at this point. This was the longest relationship I had because it was my second one and longest. And so I remember leaving. He met my family. Some of my family he met. Um, and but it was like still like as a friend. It wasn't like he met them a few times. It wasn't like a lot. Like he wasn't always around to where the people knew that I was like LGBT or whatever. I was still kind of like privated, especially after what happened with my mom and she feeling the way she felt and everything. So I wasn't fully out the closet yet, even though I was with them for a year. In this point, I kind of separated from a lot of my yoga colleagues and stuff at this point. I was still working in yoga, I was still in my trainings and stuff, but I wasn't like as part of the community because I was going through this abusive relationship emotionally. And there was a one point where I remember it was like a Christmas Day. A Christmas Day, he came back from Miami with one of his friends who ends up being this like a kind of a pseudo star, like kind of a star. I don't know. His name is Zay or Zed, not Zay, Zed. Zed and Ray. Some of y'all may know who Zed and Ray is, but at this point there was no Ray, it was just Zed. And for some reason he always thought that I wanted to F with Zed. And maybe Zed wanted to F with me, I don't know. But he was hotter. He was definitely hotter than the guy I was with, so maybe I would have wanted to, but I didn't. I was not gonna cheat on anybody. Like I hated the idea of cheating on somebody, so I wasn't gonna do that. But he came back from the trip, and I went to pick them up from the airport. I left my family dinner on Christmas dinner. I left my family dinner. One of the last Christmas dinners that there was, like at that house, like that as big as we used to have them. One of the last ones we had was back then, and I left it to go pick him up, and I went to go drive him to his house, and Zed was like, "Oh, I'm gonna take an Uber from his house to my house." I'm like, "I'll just drive you. I'm already driving. I might as well drive you." So I dropped him off first. They were all in the car together. I said, "I'll drop you off. It's fine, and we'll go home after." And I thought we'd have a nice time and we'll just chill afterwards. Like me and my dude, we were Robertos. I thought we would just chill afterwards. So I do that, and I get home. He starts acting weird, and he's thinking like, "Oh, you just want to take him home? Oh, you just want this? Oh, you." He starts accusing me. You know what? F this. I don't even want to be in this. I don't want da da da. He just like starts acting crazy and like starts a whole fight. After I just left my family's house to go bring him home, and I was like, "This is effed up. Like this is a mess up situation." And this was my last straw. I'm like, "This is really effed up. Like you're literally in your head." I don't even have Zed's number. I literally had no idea. I did not have Zed's number. I had no way to even contact him, to even be cheating on him with him. Like it was insane. It was just all this projection was happening. Looking back, I'm like, was he cheating on me? Because usually people, when they accuse you of cheating, they're projecting onto your situation, or they're just paranoid. I don't know. It depends. Um, so that situation went down, and I was just like, it was a big blowout, and I left. And he was like, he kind of kicked me out, and I left. But I had to have my own house, so I'm like, I'm going to my house, and I'm good, whatever. So I left, went home, and I decided that's my last straw. I'm done. A few days later, he's calling me back, trying to apologize, trying to get me to go back over there, and I'm like, no, I'm done. This is it for me. I'm done. I'm done. And he didn't realize that because we had other times that we had little spats of breakups, but this time was done for me. I was like concrete over it. Also sad about it because this is somebody I cared about for over a year. I'm like, no, this is it for me. And so he kept calling and like trying to make it work. And then the calls got more frantic, and he started threatening to harm himself and saying like, I made the biggest mistake of my life. Oh, please marry me. Please marry me. I'm making 500,000 a year now. Like now I'm making 670 a year. Like whatever. He just kept like raising the amount that he was making, which I believe he probably was, but I didn't care about the money. Like I'd already had dates in between this with like really rich people. So not relationships, but like I've had experiences with people who are like up, like super super wealthy, that I won't even bring into this because they weren't substantial enough. They weren't like a real relationship. Because like I said, I've been with over like a lot of people over the time, but I never cheated, and it was never overlapping. And so with when it came to the way that he was like trying to backpedal and trying to like get forgiveness, I'm like, you're just gonna do the same pattern over and over again. I was done with it. I'm like, this is trash. I'm over this situation. I want nothing to do with this. Like this was just a heartbreaking situation. And so at a certain point, when he started threatening to harm himself, I was already depressed, and I was just already over a lot of things. I was kind of thinking that I want to be out of this world, if you know what I mean. And so I was like, you know what? I want my dog to be in a good place, not in a pound or something. So I ended up giving him my dog, because I was like, I need to get in a different space in life. I knew he loved that dog. I knew that he wouldn't do anything to himself if he had my dog. So I gave him my dog because I was just over life at that point. My dog ended up going and traveling the world with him, and I seen like little pictures and stuff on. That's the last time I saw him, actually, when I handed my dog over, and there wasn't even any hug or anything. I'm like, here you go, and he wanted to like have a hug. He thought this would be like a moment where we came together again. I'm like, nope, it's all good. Here's the dog. Here's this. Here's all her stuff. Here you go. And I knew she would be in a good place, and she ended up traveling to Europe before I did. she she was living a great life. I mean, until she passed away, she lived an amazing life. He ended up even getting a dog that looked just like her after she passed. I just saw it through like Facebook or something. Because I was like, oh my dog, I love that dog. And after I ended up not ending myself, I was like, oh my dog, but I can't take my dog back. So I'm like, okay, well, this is what it is. Like at least she's in a great place, and she was being very well taken care of. And so that's how that ended, and he's continues his life. I'm sure I don't even know. I just like I stopped caring because I was like, this is effed up. Like this is a trash situation. Fast forward, of me just in my career in my yoga trying to just build my life back up and find out who I am in this situation. I end up meeting another person off of effing Tinder. Oh, you would have thought I deleted this app. And I did at certain times, I deleted the app. But I still had that hopeless romanticism to me where I'm like, oh my God, like there's gotta be some love out there. There's gotta be like that partner who's like really there for you. And I felt like incomplete without that partner. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it'd be so great to have that person, like to make things not so dark and sad. Everything feels so sad and just like pointless, without having that love. Hold on one second, let me check the camera and make sure we're still going. Okay, we're still on. We're still on. It's a long video. Oh my gosh. Um, Everything was like sad and stuff. So I just felt like, okay, like I'm just at least going to, um, I'm just at least going to keep trying, I guess, and meet people on Tinder, because Tinder was the place, like I said, that's the more, it was more of like a more serious connections. So I meet this other guy on Tinder named Ryan. Oh my gosh. This guy named Ryan, he had like this shop called the Consignment Shop on Melrose Avenue. It's gone now. I think he sold it or whatever. Um, but he's like very eccentric looking person, like skinny, bearded, skinny, white, bearded, from a rich family. Not that it mattered. I didn't even know about that. I didn't care. Lived in like a nice building off of like Franklin in like the Hollywood area, and like we met up for like some Thai food, and kind of hit it off the first day. Like I was like, I'm not gonna sleep with this person. I'm not gonna sleep with this person the first day. Like I already did that with my first two exes. Like maybe just not sleep with this person. We have a great dinner. We hit it off very well. We go back up to his place to say goodnight, and he starts making out with me in the elevator, and then pulls me in, and we have intimacy. we f, and in that first night, I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. Like, this is so done with me, so done with the situation. We end up in a relationship, for that relationship didn't last as long. I think it lasted about like a few months, but he was very much a different kind of person. Like he was very much into music and like different movies and stuff. Like very, like I said, very eccentric. Had very cool fashion sense and like really like vintage clothing. He had a vintage clothing store and stuff too. So I thought I was very interested. Like, this is a very interesting person. To be around, and I thought we were having a good time. We would go out to movies together. We were to go eat at all the different places, and it was just like it seemed like a fun time. Like we were really getting along. Now this person had gone through electroshock therapy, so his I think that had a lot to do with how he was as a person. I didn't realize how mentally maybe up there he was or out there he was at times, and how his rationale was kind of like effed up. Or maybe that's just I don't know if I can blame the electroshock therapy, but I know he had it because he told me about it, and he also told me about some crazy parties, some different Hollywood situations that were very dark and disturbing. I started learning about more of the Illuminati stuff and everything, like from firsthand, not from conspiracy, from things that that was sharing with me that he went through, and his family and stuff and all that. So I didn't meet his family, but I knew about them. I think they knew about me too. But anyway, apparently, unbeknownst to me, this guy kind of likes to start relationships, and then he talks to his therapist about them, and then they find some reason to break up with the person, and then like he just like things were going well all this time. We were going to all these things, going to gardens, and just having all kind of adventures together. And then all of a sudden, like he starts ghosting and starts like texting me like, "Oh, I think we need to separate. I think we need to be apart." I'm like, "What the f?" Like I was so devastated. I'm like, "Are you serious? Like this? I thought things were actually going well this time." And he starts like flipping on me all the things that we shared in common. He would like diss me on and like just started being nasty to me. And then he's just like, I was like, can we at least talk in person? He's like, I don't want to talk right now. I feel like we'll just go back in the same cycle if we talk. I'm like, what cycle? We never had a fight. We never had a breakup. Like this is the first time you're like breaking up with me over text. So a couple of weeks go by, and he's like, well, in a couple of weeks maybe we can talk then. So a couple of weeks go by. I'm like heartbroken, like what the heck? I'm losing this person. Like this is somebody I cared about too. And he was saying he loved me and all this. They all say they loved you, like all that stuff, all that crap. He's saying I love you, all this kind of stuff. So I go there, I bring flowers like a dummy. Like, I can't believe I brought flowers to this effort. So stupid of me. But anyway, I go there like to talk, like to proclaim my love for this person, you know, and they pretend as if they love me too, but then also like this, but just couldn't do it. We just can't go forward. And I wish you well, but you know, like we just had to separate, whatever. And I asked him questions about the pattern. Like, is this a pattern for you? Do you do this to people? And he admitted that he does do this. This is his pattern. You know, it's like a mental illness. Like, he likes to start something and then just like dip on it. And I'm like, dang it, I got caught in another effed up situation. Because I was thinking this would be my person, you know, like we were talking about bigger plans. I was meeting all of his friends and stuff too. I met so many of his friends and people. So I'm like thinking this is serious, you know. Um, Not the case. Not the case. It's crazy enough though that that person, even as of a couple years ago, was still reaching out to me. I had to block his number too. Like, he kept reaching out even after like all that happened. After I was like done and out of the situation, I he kept reaching out. The last time he reached out, I answered the phone, not even realizing it was him, because it's a New York number and he's California. I'm like, why do you have this New York number? But I remembered that his number is rooted out there because of how he bought it. There's some backstory about how he bought his phone. And so when it was New York, I thought it was my best friend in New York. So I answered, and it was him. I'm like, oh God. And he was like, oh, I was thinking about you, and oh, I would like to take you out to dinner, and I hate how things ended, and da da da, all this stuff. I'm like, are you effing serious? Like, I've been over you for so long. This is like you. They always come back crawling. They always come back like, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Da, 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 da. Anyway, all that BS. And so I wasn't going down that path, but he did tell me something I thought was hilarious. I mean, it's kind of dark, I guess, but he broke up with this other guy that I saw him with, and on, like, you know how Facebook and whatever, like I saw pictures of them, with this other guy, and he, like, apparently he broke up with them after being with them for years. Like, I think he was dating him after he dated me, and this guy flipped out on him and beat his A word, beat his ah, and he had a broken arm and stuff. He had holes in the wall at his apartment, the same apartment that he was at when we were together. All this stuff, and I was like, "Oh wow, that happened to you," and I had to chuckle because I'm like, "F you, you deserve every bit of that, to be honest." And you're watching this, F you, Ryan, and you know you deserve every bit of that a whooping because you're a hole. So sorry, this a little pettiness because like really like that's it was just dirty. The way he does people is really dirty and very like mentally manipulative. But whatever, like people like that shouldn't be with anybody. Like, I'd be damned if I go and have dinner with you or anything. You know, I will say that the places we went for dinner were super nice. Like, as far as like the good food and like having great good times at those places. But it was always just weird. Like, his energy was weird. So that ended, and I was really heartbroken about that situation at the time when it first ended. And so within 2 weeks, 2 weeks, I ended up meeting somebody on Grinder because I was like, F this, like F love, you know, I'm just gonna be on Grinder at this point. And I was on Grinder and I was just like doing what I want to do on Grinder, which, you know, things happen on Grinder. And so I was F the pain away, F the pain away, F the pain away. And I ended up meeting somebody that who in the F knew that I would end up marrying. I ended up meeting my future husband 2 weeks later after that breakup. Oh, I hate even saying husband. It's so disgusting. Anyway, I meet my soon to be husband who looked similar to Ryan in a way. There was like a similarity, but that wasn't why I was with this person. There was like something about this person that was like this about the way that they carried themselves that was like very manipulative and but it was at the time it felt very enamoring. It was very mysterious. This person, his name was Chris. I call him CJ, I guess. CJ Christopher, um, Christopher CJ, whatever. I call him Christopher. I'll say CJ, but there's another Christopher coming up. The one after. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. Let's go to this part. So this person, Christopher, ended up meeting him on Grinder, thinking it's gonna be a quick hookup situation in San Pedro, which is not too far from where I lived in LA. And so I'm like, you know, whatever. He looks fine. Like, he has a good peach on him. Whatever. Like, let's go over there and see what it is. Had no idea, no thought of anything going forward. So I go there, come to find out he's living in his grandmother's attic. His grandmother's like top area, like it's the attic of this house, because he's taking care of his grandmother, and that's part of the sweetness. Like, oh, that's sweet. He's taking care of his grandmother, you know. And I find out that like within meeting him, within like I was like, oh, at this point I didn't care because I was in the grinder phase, so I didn't care if we effed around because that's the whole point of it, of the grinder phase. So we meet, and within 10 minutes, if that, effing, raw dogging, effing, because we already talked on the phone. or not talked on the phone, talked on messages, that he was clean and clear. I literally asked, like, are you clean? Because I was like, I don't want to get any diseases. I don't want anything. And so I was like, are you clean? Like, do you have, your records, whatever, all that stuff? Are you tested? And he said, yeah, I'm clear, I'm clean, all that stuff. Like, literally said that. Effing liar from the beginning, effing liar. But unfortunately, again, I was already too much enamored by this person. Before when I found out that he was lying. Anyway, it was his birthday too, so I made him on his birthday in his grandmother's attic. Sweet lady, his grandmother's so sweet, but she wasn't there that day because she happened to be like with one of his uncle or whatever. She was out for that one day, so that's why he was having somebody over. Which apparently I found out later on that that's a normal thing for him. He would always have people over because he's a H to the is O, E to the is a WHOR to the E. I'm so stupid for dealing with that situation. Anyway, so I meet this person. I was like, oh, it's your birthday. Like, you're not doing anything for your birthday. Let's go and have some pizza because he had to go pick up his best friend from the airport. And his best friend from the airport in like near LAX. So like this place called Mod Pizza that's gone now. That particular location. Well, no, Pizza Rev. It's called Pizza Rev, not Mod Pizza. Pizza Rev. But that place is gone now. It was used to be near LAX. So we effed around first, and then we kind of felt like, we were like connecting. While we were talking about things. He's like military, ex-military. I didn't know how deep in the military, but he's ex-military. And what else did I find? Like this different. He was telling me different things about like, he brought up Lady Gaga, and then we knew a mutual artist, Jungle Ussy. I can't say her first name because Jungle Ussy I call her, but yeah, people know her. She's amazing. Shout out to her. I have a lot of love for her. She's a great artist, and she wore one of my designs. So W to her. Like no offense to her in this situation, but anyway, we kind of like hit it off. And he like already brought up his ex, who was like Nicola Formichetti, who was the creative director for Lady Gaga, and he was bringing him up and stuff, which was a big red sign. But I didn't care. This is a hookup. Who cares? He could tell the story if he wants. I didn't give a f. But he had like a lot of collectibles around, so it was just a lot like kind of like a kid's room up there, kid's room of collectibles. But he's older than me, you know. He was like 3 years older than me, or 2 or 3 years older than me. And so that day we went to have pizza, and we were just having like really sweet moments. We really connected well. I left to go home. I felt like, oh wow, this person's really dope. I really wanted to, stay connected with them. Like at this point, I didn't even know that he had lied to me about his status, which he was positive and he said undetectable, but I think that's a lie. Even though I didn't catch that from him, it's a whole. We're going to that, but he was a liar, I think liar. But he had told me like, oh, like, come to my birthday party the next day. So I like a birthday party. Okay, it's gonna be at the same house that I was at, where we hooked up at the same house in the backyard, or like is at that house. He said. So I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever. So I go home to my sister and my brother-in-law they weren't married at the time, but my sister and my now brother-in-law were at home, and I'm like telling them about this person, because usually I don't talk about any of my hookups, but this person seemed different. It seemed like a different situation. And so I tell them a little bit about it and say I'm going to a birthday party the next day. They said, okay, be careful, be safe, all that kind of situation. I said, yeah, well, I'm definitely be safe, me, all that. And my life was in order at this point. I literally had zero debt. I was working my behind off. I had my yoga license and everything. I worked all the way through all my schooling for that. I was just working. Like I had a lot of money coming in from my commercials, my TV shows, and because I'm SAG and AFTRA, as far as like the union. Like I was working, I had not a single ounce of debt, no debt. Like everything was super organized in my house, clean. Everything was just super together. I'm saying all these things because this marriage put everything into a chaotic spin because of this person. Oh God. Okay. So anyway, I go to the birthday party the next day, and he tells me at that birthday party later on that he had told his best friend that he went to pick up at the airport, that he just met his husband, that I was his husband. So now look, at the time I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Like that's so, like, it's meant to be. Like, oh wow, that's crazy that he would say that. Like it was very like seeming symbiotic. Like that's really beautiful to hear that. Like, but I just met you kind of too. But so you thought I would have learned my lesson, but I didn't apparently. And he says that to her, and it just becomes like this situation where I'm there in front of around his whole family, his friends that he hasn't seen in so long, are there at this party. Everybody's there at this party. They're all dressing up and stuff, and it's just like it's all everybody's together and they're just like having fun. But I'm thinking that they do this often, but he hadn't seen these people in a while, and they all were kind of thinking he was off, and he had done shady stuff to all these people, but he likes to put sprinkle around it. You know, like if you have a piece of crap, you put sprinkles on a piece of crap. That was his life. You know, he took the crap and he put sprinkles on it. It is still crap and it still smells. So we were all there, and I'm thinking like, oh, this is a sweet situation. Like, oh well, like this person seems to really care about me. He was all over me that at the birthday party. He didn't care that his mom was there or anybody. His mom seemed to like me. His whole family seemed to like me. The grandmother was like, they're all just very sweet and steamy at the beginning, all sweet. The grandmother always was sweet. She never became anything other than that. She had dementia, and I ended up taking care of her for a while too. Very sweet woman. If anybody, I miss her out of anybody. Everybody else, but her, she was a sweetheart. And she's probably passed away by now. I don't know. I haven't kept up with anybody over there. I literally blocked them once everything really ended later on, years later. And so this situation, like became, it got like we became inseparable for like over 6 months at this point. Like we were inseparable. Like, but even though we were inseparable, he still found ways to cheat early on in the relationship. About a week and a half later, after we like first met, we were already engaged. We were kind of like, I joked around with them. We were like, oh, like while we were in the middle of intercourse, of like, oh, like we should get married. Like you don't like because he had said that already. That I'm his future husband. So I'm like, okay, we should get married or something. And he was like, what? And then he like after like played it off, and then later on like, yeah, I think we should actually, like later on that same day, like yeah, I think we should. That'd be like really hot. And then we actually do it. The next like in a few days, we end up getting married in the Beverly Hills. First, we go to the Beverly Hills courthouse, and then we go to this Norwalk place to actually have the ceremony. And it all seemed very like flowing. Like the ceremony was just me, him, and then his friend that came into town called Lee. Her name is Lisa. So it was all like she ended up coming to town, and we got married. She was our witness, because otherwise you got to pay for a witness. But I didn't want any of my family to be there. I didn't even tell them I was getting married. Nobody even knew him, but my sister, who didn't know him, but like just knew of him. And so we ended up actually getting married and stuff. And that's when I like told my whole family that I'm not only am I LGBT, but also I'm married. So that did not go well. That did not go well. People were like, "What the f?" My main family. But then they also were like, "Whatever." Like it's me. It's they knew who I was, so they were just like. They were shocked at first, but they were also like they had hints of it. My mom was hysterical about it. We had some major family drama. That's a whole different story, because that situation has healed over time. But there was some family drama in there that really created some very big havoc, to a point of like certain people in the family didn't want to be in the photos with my ex-husband. It was just all this. Oh, it became crazy, and then we ended up having a family reunion that I invited him to out here in Texas. And by this point, we were married at this point. By this point, I'd already caught him cheating. I like saw like on Grindr. You get them how you lose them how you get them. I saw on his Grindr, like to his phone, because I had access to his phone and all that kind of stuff. I just found all kind of evidence that he was cheating, from the beginning. And it was like, okay, like, and I confronted him about it, and I was like devastated, because I never have been cheated on in that kind of way, especially now I'm married too. I'm like, what the f, heartbroken like that. It started dismantling things for me. I'm like, oh, like I couldn't trust this person, but we still tried to make it work because we're in a marriage. If I wasn't married, I would have been like, peace out, like f you, and I'm done with this situation. But it was like a cycle of things, and like I was connected with his family at this point. Like I was helping take care of his grandmother. Like yeah, we had a household there, and we had another household at the house I lived at. But I was there with him. I would never even went to the other house, hardly ever. But I was with him anywhere. Like we were always together, which is toxic too at that point. Looking back, it's like that's a toxic situation. But it seemed at the time like this was like super love, and we were just super like PDA and touchy, like no matter where we went. We went with his friends. Like we had one of his friends designing rings for us, and we were going to do a big party, and we were planning our life together in the future. But the cheating part like really was so effed up and so dirty and disturbing. This is before I even knew about how far he was in the military and how deep that rabbit hole went. and the Illuminati stuff he was talking about, like that got deeper too, because he was with the Lady Gaga situation, and how he said that he used to spy on Lady Gaga herself. To the government sent him to spy on Lady Gaga, and he ended up in a relationship with her main creative director, Nicola, who he also was abusive to, by the way. Then he started getting physical later on in the relationship. He started like actually hitting me. He started off as play hits first. If people start play hitting you and you're not that kind of person who likes violence, run. Like, watch out for those kind of people. He starts like play hitting and stuff, and then it became like actual real abuse later on. Cheating got worse and worse. The distrust got worse and worse. He was just lying through his teeth at every moment. I started catching him in this all kind of compromising situation. I believe at this point, based on what I know, in this particular relationship, he cheated on me with over like 100 people. Sometimes they were at this point, like I had started at some point in the marriage, I started the Rock Mercury situation, the Rock Mercury name, because I was just so devastated and so heartbroken and wanted to delete myself again. I was just over life. And I was like, this is just effed up. Like, what is love? Like, love is stupid. Like, I hate all this. Like, he tried to break up with me multiple times, and then we ended up getting back together again and back. It was just this toxic cycle where I should have left each time, to be honest. I should have been like, F this person, I'm gone. Like, I'm out of here. But it was like that toxic, like, get away. Oh, I want you. Get away. I want you kind of thing that he would do. Very manipulative. But he would tell me all these like fantastical stories. He's very good at telling stories because he's an actor too. He was an actor when he was growing up. It was just all this BS. But it was just like this convoluted lies. The lies stacked on lies make you disoriented. This is also around the time when I ended up in the adult industry, because I was just like, F everything. Like, he's already cheating on me so much, I might as well. Like, I just wanted truth. At this point, I'm like, okay, fine, you're going to cheat. At least let's have an open situation to where we're honest. Couldn't even do that. Just lying through every single thing. So I said, you know what? I'm going to at least use one of his contacts and get into the adult industry, which I didn't really want to do at all, to be honest. Like, I just was like, whatever, like, we need to make money, because now you've stolen my money. He's literally robbed me of thousands and thousands of dollars, like, put me in so much debt, destroyed my life, like, created so much havoc in my family and his own family too. So much fight, so much drama. He was abusive to even his grandmother. He was abusive to his mother, abusive to his dad. Like, just really is an angry person, full of PTSD. I find out that he wasn't even taking his medication, that he wasn't undetectable, so he was putting people's life at risk. Even the people who he was cheating on me with, he was putting them at risk too. It was just so many despicable things. He was illegally recording people too. That when he was hooking up with them, like cheating, he was illegally recording them, which isn't that a federal crime or something? I don't know. I have the evidence of all that, because I'm just like, what in the? Because I went to the phone and like started downloading files. I'm like, this is effed up. Like, I may need this in court at some point. So I have so many files that he has no idea I have, but now he does. If he's watching this, I don't give a F. But I started like just getting case files together, because I'm like, I'm in a messed up situation. This person's like attacking me, like messing up, like beating me, busting my lips, like dislocating my ribs, like attacking. I find out that he was also abusive to Nicola Formichetti and his other ex named what's his name, Fabio, or oh, I forgot his name. Anyway, there's some other exes too that he had like been abusive to too. And I had contacted him once they found out we were married, because when we were married, so many people came out of the woodwork, just being like, oh wow, I never thought you'd get married before. I never thought, oh, you found somebody special. And I was the first person he ever married. And I felt so special, like, oh wow, yeah, I'm the special one, or whatever I thought at that time. That's what you think. But it was just dirty lies and just deceit and disgust. Like, he hated me, and he was racist too. He would say the N-word, and like not in a way of like a funny way. Like, he like despised. He had like a two-person, like a double personality kind of thing. And he would threaten me with getting me unalived. He would tell me that he's going to get me unalived if I ever like expose certain things and all that kind of crap. And I was just so under the spell of thinking that I was with somebody who cared about me. Thankfully, shout out to Lady Gaga, but she wasn't paying taxes on her employees properly. And so they came after him. The IRS came after him. The IRS, and our relationship was already rocky at this point, but we were still together. We were still married. We were still together, like every day. And I helped him. Like, I literally worked. I would like do his schoolwork for him when he was doing, like, there's this thing in the military where you can go to school for free, but you have to keep going to school to get paid. They pay you to go to school, basically. So I would do his work for him to keep him in the school. Like, I would literally be doing the work. I'm the one like working for him, working to keep him going. Meanwhile, instead of going to school, he's out cheating and doing more stuff. Like just being shady, like every single way you can think of, just being shady, shady, shady. You know, so disgusting too. Like sanitary wise, he was so nasty. Like he just didn't even like wipe himself properly. He like left trash around. Like he left just so much disgusting. He would have like bottles and jars full of like of urine and like this disgustingness. Like he was so gross. And I'm telling you, before him, I was like very clean. Everything I had was very much in order, you know. And he was just a sick person. And at a certain point, he found out that he found out that he had what was I gonna say? This disease that starts with SIF. That's the disease called SIF, I guess I'll call it. And he was getting treated for it through the VA. Didn't tell me anything. Didn't even know. He was out there sleeping around so much, catching stuff. I thought he kept saying that he wasn't doing those things, that he was healthy, and that he was getting checked and all this stuff. Lies, lies, lies. I ended up catching that. Didn't even know about it. If you know anything about the SIF, it can make you go insane. It can start to like mess with your actual mentality, and like it's like little parasites eating at your brain and stuff too. There's different levels to it, and so I didn't even know I had it. Thankfully, somebody from the VA let me know that this person's out there being treated for this, and I went in to get treated. Last minute, it was already an advanced case at that point. I was so sick, had no idea what was going on in my life. I just thought I was losing my mind. It was so effed up. Almost died. They told me I was gonna die, thanks to my alkaline eating and diet and learning stuff online, how to heal myself. I was able to heal myself. Now I don't have that anymore, but I did end up getting sick from some of the medications. Some medications can cause other parasites and sickness that aren't the same thing, but like it's a different type of sickness. So I still do struggle with getting my immune system back up where it was before this person like effed me over. But he wanted me to die. He even admitted that he wanted me to like die. He wasn't gonna tell me he was gonna let me die. He literally admitted it when we were fighting at one point. And so it was just a really dark, disgusting person, to be honest. Um, he ended up when I finally like started seeing things for what they clearly were, is when I started going up to this ranch called Savage Ranch, which stay away from Savage Ranch, y'all. It's a corrupted, dirty place. This wild beast called Bailey, whatever. Like she's literally a wild wildebeest out there, just doing witchcraft and just being evil up there. It is a very dark person. I know that some people are marketing this person as a good person. They're not a good person. I hate to even call it a she, to be honest. It's just a very despicable person that he's friends with. But of course, demons hang out with other demons. So I don't want to go into that person too much because it's just like you. And I already put them in their place already at that time. But he was going up there to go have more hookups and more orgies and stuff up there with these people who had no idea that he was sick. It's getting more people sick. At this point, I wasn't even effing with him like that when it came to like intimacy. I was actually like done with that part, but I was waking up to everything that was going on. I'm like, this is so effed up. And I actually had a little fling in between it. That's not a relationship. I'll leave him out of this, but it was like a fling of more like somebody who was better to me at that point. But it wasn't like a real relationship. I thought it was still like not that kind of situation, but it was just a nicer person that helped me heal from the darkness that I went through in that situation. And actually, we're still good to this point. You know, like we're not as close as we were, but we're still good to this point. So no shade to that person that was in between. I'm not gonna name them in this, but yeah, that was just like an in between kind of situation that I was thankful for. Could have been a longer term situation, but the universe didn't want that to happen in that kind of way, and probably for the better, to be honest, with everything that went down. So once I started waking up to how effed up everything was, I remember I got this white husky named Axel. I got this white husky after I was like, we were already separating things, but we were on kind of good terms. But I remember I got this white husky, and I was just like, I need something that's like stable. Somebody that's gonna be on my side. Something that's loyal. I felt like I had no loyalty, and what's more loyal than a dog? So I got this husky. He was so sweet to me, but very troubled dog, whatever. But very big, huge husky. And I remember I brought him into the house, and my ex did not like big dogs, even though he had other little dogs. It wasn't that he didn't like dogs. He didn't like big dogs, and this was a very big dog. And so it's like, oh, that dog's staying here, then I'm not staying here. And it was like, oh, okay, well, the dog's staying here. And he was like, okay. And he got his stuff, and he literally walked out. He looked back, and he walked out. And that's the last time I ever saw him. And I remember like, wow, I traded one white bit. I got one white one white B word and just got rid of the other white B word. It was almost like this dog had like a charm of protection over it to where it just releases demon out of my house. Like, you know, like, yeah, you, like, like a protector. Like this dog was so, and I love this dog. Like, and to this day, this dog is such a sweetheart, and he's in a really good place with the place I got him from. You know, I paid for all of his bills and all of his health stuff. So that's a longer story, but when I moved out here, I couldn't bring him with me because he's a really big dog and he's troubled. He needs to be in a certain kind of environment, and it's too hot out here, and a lot of things to it. But he's in a very good place, exactly where I got him from. But I paid for more things to help support him as he goes forward, and very happy for him. But anyway, at the time, I kept him for years. This dog, and but it like protected me from this person, from my ex. Like that was the last time I saw that person, and I started waking up to the reality of what I've been through after this dog. After I had this dog here, and we were going on walks all the time, and I'll just be just thinking like, wow, like I was really in an effed up situation. This person was cheating on me every chance, abusing me, he tried to kill me. Like people don't even get that. Like my ex tried to end my life multiple times, and I look back, I'm like, how did I stay? Like how did I make it through this? How did I forgive these situations? But the manipulation, the lies, keeps you in this cycle of just like of being here, being with this person. And I look back, I'm like, I'm so thankful I'm away from that. So thankful. That's all I can be, is thankful. And that's when I started just opening up about my story. I did one video, but the video was all over the place. So I wanted to do another video now that's just more like for so much distance from it. Like I blocked him at that point. I already blocked him after I got the dog and was done with this person. I'm like, this is over. Like I just need to not be around a person like this. Like it was so, oh, like it was so effing dark, and I'm just happy that I survived it. But the good things about it is that I was around a lot of military people and a lot of people in the Illuminati, to be real, that kind of woke me up to some things that are bigger in the world. So it wasn't really him; it was by proximity, because dark, snakish people like him hang around other snakes that run this world. And so, unfortunately, he was very well connected with some people who were, you know, movers and shakers when it comes to the bigger picture of this agenda that's going on with our government and with our world. That's a whole different video, but that's the one thing I'm thankful for, is that I got to see behind the curtain a bit, enough for me to be like, F that, F the whole curtain. Like I need to go and enjoy my art and focus on what matters to me the most, which is my life and my art, which is what I felt after that relationship. I said, I'm never getting in a relationship again. I'm over this. Like I felt like I just wanted to focus on me and focus on building what I'm building. And I really thought that at the time. But apparently I didn't think it fully, because I ended up, after I moved out here, which was a few years after I got the dog, and I moved out here because I want to, actually I came out here just to see my nephew, because he was a newborn. My sister had a baby, so I came out here to be with them and support. And then I ended up moving out here. Hold on, let me check the camera and make sure we're still good. We're still good, okay. I ended up moving out here to Texas, and it was the best decision I made, because I'm so happy to be back and out here in Houston. I love Houston. I didn't think I ever could be around my family in this kind of way. But it was so beautiful to be back out here. Who knew I was gonna actually move out here? But even to this day, I still have a lot of my stuff in my other house in LA. So I need to I'm still in the process of getting my stuff out here. But like I have everything I need right now. I'm good. Like I don't need anything, but I have, I guess, in storage out there, so it's all good. But it's just like right now, like I ended up out here, and so gratefully, because if I was still with my ex, then I wouldn't have ended up out here in the same way. It would have been a different path. And this has been such an amazing blessing. I've been out here for almost 2 years now, which has been so beautiful. So while I was out here, I started feeling lonely again. I was on that Miss Mary Jane, and I thought, you know what? Let me go back on that grinder site. You know, let me go back on there and have a little fun. Have a little fun. I thought it was still fun at that point. And so I ended up having a few situations, you know, a few meetups and all that stuff. And then I ended up meeting another person named Christopher, another effing Christopher. I can't believe it. This one's black though. The black Christopher. I was like, I couldn't believe it. His name was Chris. I'm like, oh my God, there's no way that is another Christopher on Grindr again. Like as if I didn't learn my mistake ahead of time. This person was younger than me, about like 8 years younger than me or so. And was a nurse, you know, a medical nurse, whatever. Met him on Grindr within meeting in we're in Kingwood, like within a few minutes of meeting, like probably even shorter than the first one, shorter than with my ex-husband. Like I was already clapping them cheeks, pop, pop, pop. He had sent me a picture of what he's working with, and I was like, oh, whoa, that's big. And I was like, oh, this is like he seemed hot, whatever. Like I wasn't thinking anything of him. Like, oh, it's gonna be a hookup and keep moving. But we banged it out, all that, all that went down, and I was like, this person seems cool. He seems like a good vibe, like good energy, good spirit, and all that stuff. And maybe he still is. I don't know. But like we ended up like meeting up more. Like we stayed in contact, and the next day he's like he messaged me that night. He messaged me the next day, like messaging consistently. At this point, he's messaging like pretty like constantly each day. Like we're talking, and we meet up the next day. We meet up the day after that. Like we're like pretty inseparable at that time. Again, the same pattern. Oh God, I should have saw it at this point. Um, which didn't always stay, because at a certain point, which is why we're not together anymore, it started getting more distant and more time went by between each call or each communication. It just kind of felt like more like I was on the back burner. But whatever, let's not even get to that point yet. But we started dating. We started taking it seriously. I asked him like if there's anybody, if there is any relationship that he's in right now, like before we even start dating. And he's like, oh no, I'm like, I broke up with somebody, we're already done, like, we're cool, it's fine. I was like, oh, that's cool that you have an ex that you're cool with, that you're not, that you guys aren't together anymore, but you're not enemies. That's a good thing, because my exes are like, my exes, like, they've all been trash to me. Like, they've just treated me like trash, and they weren't quality people. So I said, oh, that's really nice that you have somebody quality. That's a doggone lie, too. He was lying about that it didn't being in a good terms. But that's a whole different thing right there. Because later on in our relationship, he like we're going to the zoo, we're going to eat, we're doing different things, and I'm posting it on TikTok, because I'm a TikToker. He's going on my live streams, he's like liking and sharing stuff on my live stream and supporting me on there. And I'm thinking like, oh, it's all good. This is a beautiful situation. I have no reason to have any issue with it. What's going on? And I remember I remember he had messaged me. We were supposed to go hang out, and apparently his ex saw the photos of us, the photos and videos on TikTok, which shouldn't have been an issue because that's his ex, and goes to his house, goes to his apartment, gets to the gate, vandalizes his patio, breaks his window in his car, hits it outside the car, is crying, hysterical, all this stuff. I'm like, why is your ex doing all this? Like, that's crazy. Like, this is your ex. You said you guys are cool. Like, what in the F? Like, I'm confused. Like, that's not what cool means. Like, what, they're over here vandalizing your stuff. He gets in the car, chases him down towards the gate, and runs into the back of his car. So much so that the apartment building is sending letters to him and emails talking about, oh, like we saw an incident happen at the apartments. Is there anything you want to say? Anything what do we need to know about this? Like, should the police be called? All those kind of things. Like, that's how bad it was. That's how unhinged it was. This situation. And so that should have been a big red flag. But I'm thinking like, okay, well, at least that's somebody who somebody wanted. Like, but I'm also just like, what the F? But I get in my car and I'm right there bringing him food, like supporting him, making sure that he gets his car fixed, helping him get his car fixed, helping him write paperwork to handle the situation outside of court, because instead of the police, he wanted to handle it with his ex's family, so they pay for all the damages instead of him going to jail, because he really could have went to jail. He said he never had like issues before, he never had with violence or whatever before. But I'm like, this is really sketchy. All of a sudden, he's just attacking you like this. And I asked him in the car, and by the way, like, this person was always on Mary Jane too. He was always smoking. He probably still does. I asked him in the car. I'm like, so were you and this person, like, were you planning on going back to this person at a certain point in the future? Like, did they have some hope that you guys were going to be together in the future? And he's like, yeah, I mean, we thought maybe in the... Okay, rockers and Mercuryans, this is part 2 of my video of why I am choosing to be celibate. The last video ran out of battery, so I was just ending off on how my previous ex, I found out that they were, that my last previous ex, the last one I had, his ex saw pictures of us on TikTok and vandalized his property. And I was there for him and helping him. You can watch out that video, but I was there for him, helping him through it. I asked him about if he was thinking that he was going to be with that person again in the future, like if that's why, if he had hope or something to have enough energy to go and attack him, attack his life, and attack his property and car and everything. Um, I really was just very, confused about that. So he said, he was like, yeah, I think that that's something that, could have thought about in the future. And I'm like, wait, like, you shouldn't be with somebody if you aren't, if you don't love that person, if you like, you shouldn't be with that person. That's somebody new if you're still not over the last person you're with. I felt some kind of way about it, to be honest. I felt very, hesitant about that situation. But I was there for him. I was there again with, like, I brought him food. I was there to help him get his car fixed and stuff and everything. I was there to be there. But it was just a very shady situation. Um, and I just saw that this person didn't really care about me. They weren't like abusive like my other exes were, but they were a different kind of like aloofness to it. Like they had met my family, been around my people. I didn't meet their family. I only talked to their friends over the phone, over like over the phone through that situation with the attack, honestly. And I was just there for them. And I remember too, like when I was building up my career and stuff, building up my streaming, and I would barely even make $20 on a stream, and he would be asking me to send him $20 for to go to the movies or go to some random stuff. And I'm like, what the f? Like, are you serious? But I would do it. I didn't care. I didn't. I was like, oh, that's my man. Whatever. I'll do that, and I'll just make dumb decisions for people who didn't care about me. And I just kept thinking, like, as time went with that situation, my last ex, that this wasn't somebody who I can count on, who I could rely on. This wasn't somebody who cared about me, who actually like gave a f about me in any kind of way. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that I could trust this person in that type of way. He's over here lying. Like I remember he said, like, "Oh, I gotta get my blinker fixed. I get my back blinker fixed. My friend's gonna do it." Little do I know that friend was his ex. I asked him about it, and he sent me a picture of his ex because I need to know who this was because he was violent at that point. I'm like, I need to make sure that this guy doesn't show up and pull up on me on some BS. Like I don't deserve any of that. Like I need to know ahead of time. So I had him send me the picture and stuff, and I think this guy like he had like dreadlocks and stuff, and my ex had like a some kind of skin tone complex. He was a darker skinned man, which I thought was fine. I don't care what any race anybody is. I've been with people of all types of races, so that wasn't an issue for me. Um, but he just had some kind of like complex like that he admitted to at one point, saying that he liked like light skinned dudes or whatever, and he's darker, which is kind of weird to me. Like I never understood like having a preference for a type of person, like a type of skin color of a person. Like people are people. Like I don't get that. Like I don't. That's not for me. And so that was like a sign too. And then he would also just like say shady stuff, and I think he wasn't being real with himself. Like there would be videos I heard of him like talking differently than he talks to me, like just showing up as a different person, just as a complete different being. And I started catching all the signs and being like, oh, this is not somebody who is authentic to themselves and somebody who, would be a good partner in the longer run. And so over time, I just was like, I need to get away from this situation. Like I started just seeing that I wasn't being valued. It would take forever for him to respond to my messages. As time went on, I felt like he started losing respect for me because I was kind. I felt like, when they say kind people finish last, I felt like I started just feeling taken for granted and taken advantage of. And so at a certain point, I just ghosted. I'm like, I'm out of this. Like, I need to exit. I started like deleting him from different platforms, and I remember too. At one point, he after that situation had happened with the car and him and his ex vandalizing, he had gaslit me and was telling me like, oh, can you take those videos down and the videos off of TikTok down? Everything went so fast. It all went so fast. I'm like, I asked you about these videos before. Like you said, I could put them up. You were fine with it, and they were trying to promote your page so you can be able to stream too. Like, what are you talking about? All of a sudden, as if I'm pushing this somehow. Like he would try to like rewrite history, and got really weird with me on that. I'm like, and then also he only wanted them gone off of TikTok. He didn't care if they were still on Instagram or YouTube. So I'm like, this is weird. Like, are you trying to just like still appease your ex or something? Like, this is so effed up. Very immature. But the gaslighting was effed up. I'm like, are you like you're trying to make me feel bad for posting pictures that I ask you if I can post about our different escapades of going to different food restaurants or going to the movies or going to the zoo or different things that we were doing. You're trying to make me feel bad for wanting to share that with the community when that's what I do. I'm a streamer. Like it was just got really weird, and I started catching on, and he would just start like saying stuff under his breath at times and just being like shadier, you know. And he wasn't abusive like physically or mentally in that kind of way, but it just very like aloof to a lot of things. So when I exited that situation, I just realized like I don't need anybody. I don't need a relationship. This is not what I need in life. Um, I don't need somebody to complete me in that type of way. Um, I am happy with my alone life. I'm choosing to be alone. I'm choosing to champion this life the same way I'm going to die. We're all going to die alone at some point anyway. But I just feel like for me, my path is to give all my life energy into my music, into my art, into my passions. You know, I love real estate. I love creating music, building, like even physically art, like painting and drawing. Like I love those types of things. Like I have passions, and I love waking up in my bed and stretching on out and feeling really comfortable to run my day whatever day I want, whatever way I want to, not thinking about who's cheating on me, who's doing this, who's doing that, you know, out of any abusive relationships. Like it feels so freeing, and it's at a core piece. Like before this last ex, I thought I wanted that, but now I know I wanted it. Before I was like, oh, I felt done with relationships before this last ex, but now that I went through that situation, it gave me kind of like a neutral person to realize like, oh, I'm good, you know. And I look at the positives. Like in this situation, I'm happy that I was able to still to like commit more to my gaming streaming, to handle some family drama that I had going on that I thought I was in a relationship, so I thought I was going to go fix that drama so that my ex didn't have to come into a family drama situation that I felt like wouldn't have been fair to him. Um, so like certain things got better, and but that wasn't because of him. It was because of how I showed up in the world and what I chose to do and how I championed my life. You know, I do think this person was like on that Mary Jane, smoking that stuff all the time. So maybe that brought a different level of paranoia to his life. I don't know. But I just started like waking up to the reality of what was going on. And I was like, this is not for me. Like, this person isn't for me. This person doesn't care about me in that kind of way. Like, I just started really waking up to it. And I'm so happy I did. And I'm so happy I'm choosing this. Like, if you are in a loving relationship, like be there, nourish that person, be with that person, like enjoy that love. Love is beautiful if you have it in that kind of way. But don't feel bad if you want to be alone. If you want to, you know, live this life championing your dreams and following your passions. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a peace and beauty to that too. So I don't want you guys to feel just like dejected from your dream. If you're divorced already, like I'm a divorcee, you know, I'm happy to be happily divorced, happy to be exited out of all these narratives and all of these people's lives who weren't really there for me. Um, and you know, I gave everything I had to people who wouldn't even be there for me in my roughest times. And it's funny because this person, my last ex, um, besides the fact that I met him on Grindr like I did my ex husband, and they're both named Christopher, hilarious. Um, Although he was in a position to be a caring nurse kind of figure, this person didn't have a lot of concern for the people in his life in that kind of way. Like he was very much like in a more selfish state of mind and not even true to himself. And it's like, why would I want to be in that kind of situation with somebody who just isn't present, you know? And I realized that like it's beautiful to have that situation be my last one because I don't hate that person. I don't hate them. I just see them. I see them so clearly, and it allows me to have a neutral space to be like, I'm good. Like I'm exiting and it's all good. Like I don't think about that person. I'm just like it's done. It's over. And you know, they tried to message and like, oh, hey, how's this? Oh, that looks tasty. Oh, this. And like, they would come in my live stream and not even comment. Like, that was one of the times too. I remember it came into my live stream and was like liking the live, but didn't comment anything. And they hadn't even responded to my message. I'm like, what kind of person are you? Like, you're supposed to be we're supposed to be in a relationship and you're coming into my live stream not saying anything. and still not responding, like you're still like this very shady, this shady stuff. So I just looked at that. I'm like, ew, I don't deserve this. Like, why should I be thinking about where somebody is at night or what they're doing because, are they lying to me like my exes are? Like, why should I be in that state of constant mental turmoil? I don't deserve that. I deserve better than that. So, um, I feel at peace with that. And so I just want to let you guys know and free you guys from that idea that you have to have somebody to complete your fantasy or complete your life dreams, or you don't need that. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. You can have such a beautiful life with or without that partner, if you have it, that's beautiful, good for you, but you don't, it's not a necessity. It's not a necessity. And I just really wish for all of my rockers and Mercuryans out there to do what's best for you. If you have love, nourish it. But if you don't, and you feel like a solo life of going towards your dreams and goals is for you, then that's great too. But for me, that's what for me, and that's how I got to my space of celibacy. I'm not teaching you to do this. I'm just explaining how I got to this space where I'm so thankful to be celibate. I don't want any of these useless connections where you're binding souls with people and having binding spirits with people randomly, like random one night stands. I don't need that either. That's why I chose celibacy. Like, I don't need that. I want to be alone. I want to focus on my art and my craft. It's what they did in even history. There's artists in history who they've given their lives to their passion and their craft. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm giving my life to the music, giving my life to my community, giving my life to my empire that I'm building. I don't need these fake people around me, I don't need these energies of wishy-washiness. And that's really what my ex gave, was wishy-washiness. I don't need that. So I was able to walk away peacefully and just exit out. There's been no drama with that because it's just done. He's blocked on everything. I just keep it moving. I don't need that. So anyways, rock on, Mercury. So I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I had a whole different ending, but the battery ran out, so this is the new part 2 of that video. If you want to watch the beginning of it, please go to my YouTube, watch the first part of it, the part 1. It's like an hour long, so this is just the ending of it. I was so mad when I saw that the video had ended early. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's on phone. I'm gonna make sure that my phone is charged next time fully and plugged in while I do the next one, because this is crazy. I can't believe this happened. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day, whatever, your life, all that. And I will see you guys on my next video. Thank you for listening to my story and my story time. I went through a lot in these videos, so please check out the first one. Again, this is only 13 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever this video is going to be. The last video was over an hour long, so you definitely want to watch the first video before you watch this one to understand what I'm talking about and the journey of how I came to the space that celibacy and this solo dolo life is the way for me. So rock on, Mercury, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out. Bye.